Wavemaker is an open source web app that is being created by a singular creator. According to the website, the creator set out to create the ideal writing software for themselves, and now it's being shared as this open source free product for the rest of us as well. If you're interested in this app, you can go to the website that I've linked below. Once you're on the website, here you get this starting page, and this is also where you directly can go and download the software. So what you have to do is you click here on this new version, version 4, and then a window opens and you go up to your browser, and there is this installation Wavemaker cards function. And once you've installed it, you have basically installed the app onto your desktop. And now what it does is it's a web app that opens in browser, and because you downloaded it, you can also use it offline. So this window that opened automatically is already the software itself, but if you want to find it, it's already on your desktop. So as you can see, as usual, I already have the icon here, and then when I open the app, we are in the software. So to give you a better overview of what this software looks like, I already set out some input material for the project that I'm currently working on, and I will go through the software while putting this input material into it so that we can see what it looks like when you apply it yourself. So once you're on the start page, there are a few different functions that we will go into, but the first thing that you want to do is basically create your first book. You can create several ones, and those are basically your writing project. So if I go and create my current story, and then once I go back to the starting page and then go into my books, you see here is basically my first project. So in here you can also add a description, and for the description what I want to add is the summary of what this story is about. So this is just a premise statement, and then once we go back to the overview page again, you can see that in here you can see the entire summary no matter how long it is. So that's pretty nice when you have several projects. And then also what you have here on the starting page is an overview of the words that you added per day. As you go on, you will have some sort of tracking file which shows you how much you worked every day. A function that I am missing in this software is that you can't automatically import Word files or documents that you already have. So what I have to do here is basically put my text in manually. So let's do that. Here you can see the structuring is folders and pages. And what I want to do here is, because my project has sub-parts, sub-stories, I am using the folders as basically the overview structure, and then the text files will be my chapters. Here you can see up here you can rename your folders. So I basically use the folders as my overall plot structure. Here it's the hero's journey, and then the text files are my chapters, and here for you this is the first point of view character, and his story will be split into 6 chapters, 6 plot point beats as of right now. Then moving on to the planning board. Planning board is basically your index card overview section where you can put in your plot beats and move them around. So like I said, I have 6 plot beats that I want to put into this project, and as you can see, it already took the chapters that I created as the overview section. So it basically takes the text documents as automatic overview section. What you don't have here is a distinction between the folders, so that's not incorporated in this view at all. When creating the cards, what you can do is basically here you can give it a color. So I will make all the plot beat elements, like the overall plot will be pink, and then trying to name them according to the events so that I have an overview. So this one is in chapter 2. So in this case, for example, the inciting incident, and then here you can give your description, and also you can set a tag so that later when we get to the overview section, you can filter according to the tags. So right now I'm giving it the event one, but it could also be more. So let's call it also plot, so it's easier to filter according to that. And then I can also add an image here. So for example, here I already have an image ready, which is the setting image. So let's put in this image. So as you can see here, I have the overview of those 6 events, those 6 plot beats. That's the umbrella plot, the main plot, and then the white cards are backstory. And here it's meant to be information that the reader gets in some form, but not completely. Maybe it's not shown to them because the protagonist doesn't experience it firsthand, right? So here, what you can do is you can grab cards and you can move them around, which is basically here. Let's move it over there. Maybe I will reveal this much later. So that's basically the whole point of this board, is that you can have an overview of your plot lines and then also move around different information. Now what you can do is you can add here the cards to your overview. So then when you go back to your writing section, here basically you have it on the side where it belongs, right? So if you go to the chapters, you have the cards. So then the next tool is a mind mapping tool. Mind mapping is for the brainstorming process. Whether or not that is your favorite tool, it's the one that's in this software, right? So let's work with it. Here you can create a mind map with text form or in images. Personally, I prefer it in text because the images appear really large. So for example, here, see if we link this one again, it's basically the size that it appears in, and then I can move it around. But I would prefer it if it was smaller because I like to have like a more distanced view so that I have more of an overview. So that's why I like the text version better. But this also gives you an opportunity to basically use the mind mapping section rather as a sort of overview section to have like your images and move them around if you prefer more of a visual look at your story. What I really like about this app also is that because I got Grammarly activated as a browser extension, I basically have Grammarly also in here. So you can be sure that you have high class spell checking if you have the Grammarly extension. And this is basically what my mind mapping approach would look like, having this key question of a plot event and then different options as a brainstorming. Then let's move on to the timeline and what this function looks like. So here again, you can create several timelines. Let's go with the investigation. And then this is what it looks like. So here, for example, when I want to figure out the exact timeline dates of the story, this is the tool that I would be using for this. So you can go either with text here for the time, or you can also go with dates, however you like. And this also makes it easy if you have a fictional world where normal months and dates and stuff doesn't really make sense. So here, for now, I'm going with some sort of broad monthly overview. What you can also do is you can go and you can grab the cards and then you can move them around. So basically another outlining tool that allows you to shift around and figure out what your timeline looks like, what your outline looks like. Then the grid planner tool is an overview tool that is basically a table tool. So you can use it for whatever you want to. I want to use it for my characters to have some sort of overview tool. So for example, let's go with, let's say, character categories. If you have several ones. So for example, here I have the protagonist and then you have the side characters and then in this case, background sort of minor characters that are relevant for the case. So those would be witnesses or relatives that only show up once in one scene. And then you can also create cards here. So again, basically this time around I would go with blue just so that I know that it's a character card here. So we have the motivation, the flaw, limitation, and what the character arc should look like. And then here again, character, and let's also go with, and again you could upload an image if you have character art. And what I would do in this case is the exact same thing for the settings and locations as well. Create another grid planner and make it just for the settings. Then the final tool here is my cards. So now you have the overview of all the cards that we created, and that's why the color coding is really useful. So we have the plot events, we have the characters, we have the backstory, and if you go to the tags that you set, you can basically filter according to them, and this again gives you an easier time to find your cards and your information. And then when you go back to the planning board, and here you have the option to click on the folder icon and on link existing card. And basically here you can link the plot event cards to character or setting cards. So in this case, I want to link it to Alex's description card so that when I go back to the writing, here you can see that on the side now I have the card with my opening details, but also the card that gives me the details on Alex, which will be relevant for this chapter. So this is the basic setup. And now we can go over to the actual writing. So like I said, there is no option to import the text that you have into this automatically. So I will do it manually and basically sort it into chapters while I'm at it. So this is what it looks like in the editing mode where you do the writing. Here you have some rather basic functions when it comes to the text layout. So if you want to, you can basically give it headings and go like this. I personally prefer to have just clean text and then have the overview here on the side, which seems to be working really well. So I like this overview. And then what you can also do is you can insert an image directly into the text. And you also have a word count overview here, where basically if you turn it off, I don't really get how the turn off button works in that sense. It just sets it to 0, but I guess it's meant as a sort of how many words you did today, hard to tell. So I don't really care about it being turned on. Also here you can see once again spell checking automatically because of the Grammarly extension. So I really like it in that sense that it works with your other extensions. Now what you would want to do before you get to the actual writing is to set up your layout and design according to your own needs. So when you go up here to the setting, here is the options that you have. Once again, it's a fairly minimalistic menu. I really appreciate this app because it is minimalistic and fairly straightforward. So here you can go and basically decide what you want the text to look like. So I go with the smallest font size and then standard. Yes, that's fine. Text color. I prefer it if it is, let's go with black and keep the page completely white. Let's see what that looks like. Choose a theme, gives you the option of having it in light mode. So what does that look like? So that's the light mode if you like that. And then we also have blue sky, very colorful if that's what you want. Personally, I really like the default setting, which is just this really comfortable gray tone. What you can't change is the font, which is a bit of a pity. If I could change it, I would change this one because I don't like this kind of text that much, but it's not that big of a deal. I can definitely work with this software even if it's not my ideal font. Right, and then for the writing itself, basically you have here this typewriter mode. This is what it looks like in the distraction-free mode, right? And then you would do your writing just in the normal way. So going back out of the text, and basically here I have my usual text, giving it a heading. I actually like heading 2 better for this kind of view. Looks nice, right? And then when we go back to the overview page of the book, here you can now see that I basically filled in words I wrote today, and now it starts tracking how many words those were. When it comes to the editing, you can't create comments, so there's no comment function. You can create highlighting. Basically, you can choose here between these colors and you can do the usual highlighting. So basically this would be your way of starting to edit if you want to insert something, but you can't really make any comments as to what you want to change or stuff like that. So that seems to be a function that would be really cool if it could be added somewhere in the future. But for now it's really just a very standard writing, and then basically you would have to edit while you actually go through the document. Okay, and then when you're done with the writing, basically what is the export option and how does it work, right? So you go back to my books here basically into your current project, and here you can export it. And as you can see, it exports it into Word. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So when opening the Word document, this is what I got as the starting point. Basically, what is really cool is that it took the entire outlining overview, and also even it took the folders and the text document, the chapters, and then I have the text here. Then everything I could want, basically, when I just want to write my story and then be able to export it into Word to have a backup, right, works just fine in this way. Obviously, if I now would want to take this Word as the publishing document, you would have to do a lot more editing and formatting and stuff like that. But this might also be an approach if you are missing editing tools in Wavemaker. Maybe consider the split approach of using Wavemaker as your writing tool, overview tool to develop the story, write the story, and then something like Word for the editing process and the final formatting. Because if you want to create PDFs or EPUB documents, you would also have to do it outside of Wavemaker. It really just exports into Word. Now, a few functions that I won't go into more in depth because I don't know enough how to use them, but just to let you know that they exist. So basically, the snowflake is this method of where you can create, let's give you a sense of what it looks like. So this here is the standard snowflake approach technique, right, where you start out with a sentence and then you add 3 more ideas, and you basically pick one, replace that card, and move on from there with the process, right? If you like the snowflake method in your writing process, if you incorporate it regularly, I think this tool is really cool to have. Personally, I've never used the snowflake method before, so that's why in this project I didn't really know how to show to you how I would use it in my project. But this is basically what you can expect from the software. Then another thing that I can also not showcase here is that you can link this software to your Google Drive if you have documents there, basically also as a backup option. Because I don't use Google Drive, I can't really link it to anything, but there's this option. And also what you can do with this is basically you can download the app onto your phone as well, right? And then you can link the accounts to each other. And that's a really cool option if you want to be able to work on your story, not just on desktop, but also on your phone, wherever you are. And from what I heard and saw from people who use Wavemaker, from the creator themselves, is that this is basically one of the most liked things about Wavemaker, this connectivity between desktop and mobile and how easy it is to use it on both. Personally, like I said, I can't really showcase those two parts, but just to let you know that this is very much a function that exists. Now, when it comes to backups and keeping your project safe. So while working in the software, you don't need to save anything. It does that automatically. So you can just exit it and it saved your last work stand. And also what you can do is you can create obviously those Word files as a sort of backup for yourself, just so that you have it in 2 places. Always very good idea. Google Drive, link it automatically. Another way of doing it, right? So there are options for backups and keeping your project safe. Also, what I have to say is that in the last 2 weeks when I tried out this software and used it, I never had any problems with my project going missing or it not opening in the right way. So I trust this software. It seems very stable and I haven't had any problems with losing any material so far. Obviously 2 weeks isn't a very long time to be able to really judge that, but in the same time I tried out the other writing softwares where it was very clear that I am much more worried about my project and the newest writing that I did than I would be with Wavemaker. So overall, I really like Wavemaker. I would definitely recommend it as a writing software. I am looking forward to also trying it out as a mobile app. Once I get to that, I am planning on looking at more writing software in terms of the mobile versions all at once. And when doing that, Wavemaker will definitely be on that list. I would recommend it to you if you are looking for a minimalistic, easy writing software, maybe your first writing software, or if you just really like especially outlining tools. The great thing about Wavemaker is how easy it is to download it, that you don't need to sign up with any email or anything, you don't get any newsletters or stuff like that. It's really just go to the website, 2 clicks, you have the software and you can get started. And also what I think this software has is a lot of potential for further tools and just being developed further. So right now, the person who is working on this software, who created it, is a singular person. So there's limited capacity for how quickly new tools will be developed, but there's definitely room for that. If you are interested in supporting this creator, you can go to the website and there's a Patreon link there. And from what I saw, there's also some request page where basically via Reddit, Twitter and so on, people could give feedback. So it does feel like a very alive software that is being worked on and that has potential for becoming even better in the future. If you're looking for further reviews on free writing software, you can go to my playlist here, which I have tested out, will test out free writing software in the same way as I did here with Wavemaker. And the idea is really to create a playlist where all the free writing softwares are listed and compared in the same criteria as I did here, so that it's easy to compare them and pick the one that would work best for you. So yeah, definitely check that out if that is something that you are interested in. And other than that, I will see you next time. Bye guys.